lot of money.
Okay, it's 7 o'clock. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Roll call. Kathy Goodrich.
Madeline Presico.
Virginia San Pietro.
And Dodie is our recording secretary for tonight. So I'd like to have a motion to approve the meeting minutes from June 25th, 2018. Did everybody have an opportunity to go over the minutes and see if there needed to be any changes?
I went over them. I make a motion that we approve the meeting minutes of June 25th.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried to accept the meeting minutes from June 25th, 2018. Item number 4, old business. We have no old business tonight. Item number 5 is new business. So item number 1 is to consider an act on a proposal to install and retrofit lighting in the town buildings based on an energy audit from DEF Services Group LLC. So tonight we have Mark Reel here to explain. He has come out and done the energy audits for the light bulbs. So maybe Mark, you could explain this a little bit more for us.
Okay, first I want to thank you for the opportunity that you've given us of going through your buildings.
You're welcome.
The DEF has a relationship with Eversource where we've accepted training with them to coordinate with the fact that DEF is a mechanical electrical contractor. Our purpose is to visit every building and see if we can lower your utility costs using the funds that are in the Green Bank, which is paid for with ratepayer money. What we do is we visit every building after we add an electric bill to see if there's a potential through lighting upgrades, heating, air conditioning, sensors, the whole gamut. In your buildings, we found a potential by changing your lights to LEDs. Sensors can be installed where it makes sense. Some of your buildings where we're continuing to look at hot water improvements, insulating where it's practical. With that, we take a look at your hours of operation, your cost of energy, and we send it to the power company for them to review. They actually come back and visit every building that we audit to make sure our accounts coordinate with theirs. And they look over what we recommend to make sure it works with their thought process of the same building. It comes back to us and then we present it to you. The power company picks up a percentage of the project based on the savings and how comprehensive the project is. Each of the projects we give it to you right now is basically a lighting and a control audit. But we also have, we're doing a second walk through your buildings right now to see about air conditioning and heating improvements. This building is an example, and in fact one of the schools I visited yesterday or Friday is another example where you have a lot of window air conditioning units where you can combine them all into one heat pump or split unit and it'd be much more efficient. The percentage of power company pays is based on how comprehensive the project is, and they use whatever your savings is to pay themselves back. The example I give to everybody is if a project is a $1,000 job, and let's say for the sake of conversation, the power company gave half of it. The consumer would owe $500. If I found $100 worth of savings, the power company would use that money to pay themselves back, and you'd be achieving that savings after 5 months. The more savings we find, the quicker the project works. I think every project we have that we've submitted to you was less than 5 years. When we amortized all of them together, it was less than 4 years. So far, in the last 4 days, we visited 4 of your schools, and we're finding the same thing. Now, some of the ancillary benefits you're going to have is your maintenance is going to disappear. Because the first 2 years, all the work that we do is covered the labor and material by DEF per our contract with the power company. After that, we are going to register your projects with the manufacturers to extend the warranties back to you for the material. And the material warranties, some are 5 years, some are 10 years. And that'll be part of the closeout documents. Another benefit is by removing the ballasts and the lamps and replacing with drivers, they're going to run more efficiently. Your maintenance cost should drop. One final thing is by removing all the fluorescent lights out, you're going to be removing all of the possibility of putting any mercury back into the environment as you do your renovations. One of the schools we went to had had quite a few burned out light bulbs. And I guess you were going to address that in the summer. If we do get it, we're going to be presenting you in a couple of weeks with the schools, that won't, you'll be able to avoid those costs. We'll go through the building in mass, either during the day, during the summer, but if the work is approved after that, we'll do it the third shift, so not the 50 kids. Every project is designed so it has little impact on you, and they're all 100% recycled, no impact on the environment. And that's all part of our contract with the power company.
So I have a question, Mark, that I have to ask you. Back in 2015, the town did an upgrade with energy efficiency, and it was with changing the light bulbs. Part of that was through a grant through Eversource, and then part of it was through a loan through Eversource.
And you got that also. You got that with a third-party loan provider, which is no interest also.
So what is the difference, and why, after only 3 years, would it need to be done again?
3 years ago, people who did your energy conservation project actually went from fluorescent light bulbs to more efficient fluorescent light bulbs. LEDs were not practical at that time, they were too expensive. The cost of LEDs dropping is where it actually has made a lot of this work practical. One other issue is 3 years or so ago, all of the contractors were single-purpose contractors. They were either lighting contractors or a mechanical contractor. We're one of the very few that does everything.
Any questions?
I don't know how anyone else feels, but I feel like I haven't really had enough time to look at this and really read through it myself. So I'd suggest that we delay taking action tonight and, give ourselves a little more time and then come back. So I'll make a motion that we delay taking action tonight and bring this forward after we've had more time to study it.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So motion is carried to delay the decision on the proposal to install and retrofit lighting in the town buildings based on the energy audit, so that we can do more research and have a better understanding of what the whole project entails.
Maybe we can talk with the school board to, see how they feel about it once they get their portion.
Their portions will take a lot longer. Their projects are much higher dollar value. And based on that, we're looking, I probably won't have, I can give you the preliminary report, but I won't have an approved report for maybe a month.
And now the report, Mark, for the heating and the air conditioning, when will that be complete?
Well, they're doing their second walkthrough. They started today. I think by the end of the week, you'll have your town buildings submitted to the power company.
Okay.
I'll ask them if they can expedite it, but we're looking at 2 weeks before we'll get a report on those.
Okay. Thank you, Mark, for attending and being here to explain to us. Thank you. So item number 2 is to consider an act on revising the approved resolution regarding the agreement with Earthlight Technologies and Forefront. So at this time, I would need a motion to approve an amendment to the original resolution that was adopted on June 11th. And the original resolution that was adopted on June 11th states that the first selectman is authorized to execute solar power purchase agreements with Earthlink Technologies and Forefront Power consistent with their solar proposals in response to the Town of Plainfield's solar RFP for the installation, ownership, and operation of rooftop solar generating systems at the following municipal facilities. It would be the Recreation Center, Senior Center, Water Pollution Control Facility, Town Hall, Community Center, and the police station. You would like to amend that to read, the first selectman is hereby authorized to negotiate and execute a solar power purchase agreement with one or more solar services providers in connection with the solar request for proposals that was conducted by the Town of Plainfield on behalf of the town and the Board of Education facilities, and that the first selectman deems is in the best interest of the Town of Plainfield. And tonight I have Mark and Alan here. If anyone has any questions regarding this, the amendment to the original.
Can you just tell us in easy to understand terms what the difference is?
Yeah, so we,
Just state your name.
Paul Michaud Law Group, I was engaged by the town, along with CSW, to conduct the RFP. So yeah, what happened was we conducted the RFP, and based on our meeting with the Board of Education and with the town, the results of what was actually proposed by the proposers is going to change a little, and specifically, the Board of Ed did not want the carport. So we needed both of the proposers that were recommended have agreed to modify their proposals slightly to meet the needs of the town. And so we felt that this more general resolution gives the town more broad power to negotiate the PPAs based on the needs of the town, but not specific to their proposals, because they're changing a little bit.
I think also Allen Savings Commercial Solarworks to add is also the Board of Education, the execution of the power purchase agreements will be handled by the first selectman in lieu of the Board of Education signing the power purchase agreements separate from the town buildings. So it will all be condensed into the execution power of the first selectman.
Are there any comments at this time from anyone in the audience so that we don't have to keep anybody here throughout the whole meeting? So are there any comments or questions for either Paul or Alan?
I do. Naomi Smith. One of the questions I have is what differentiates the PPA from being like a capital lease per se? What are going to be the differences in that?
So traditionally, a capital lease, in this instance of solar, the investment tax credit makers depreciation would typically go to the lessee, which would be the town or the Board of Education. But in that instance, the makers depreciation and/or the ITC, there would be no benefit because the town and/or the Board of Education is a non-profit entity. So in a power purchase agreement, those financial benefits would go to the developer, owner, operator, as opposed to the town.
Okay, and I know in one of the previous meetings at the Board of Selectmen, one of the residents had questioned the buyout options that would be in the PPA. Now, is there a general idea of how much those buyouts are going to be? Like, let's say over a 10-year, 15-year, 20-year? Has that even been discussed yet as far as from your company or the other companies? Like, what is going to be the buyout amount for the town?
Yeah, it's fair market value, so it depends on what it will be at that time. And it would violate the accounting rules that if we were to arrive at fair market value today for what will be 20 years from now. So there's no way, we're not supposed to even come up with a fair market value yet, because nobody will know until 20 years from now. We don't know.
So you have no, you won't have an idea either.
We don't know, in 20 years we'll know, it could be $1, it could be whatever the auditor, the financial auditors, in the PPA, there's a provision where there's a financial audit of the system, and they will determine what the fair market, a third party will determine what the fair market value is.
Okay. Over the course of a period of time, or that will be in the PPA after it's figured out?
It's in the, yeah, in the PPA,
Okay.
if the town decides it wants to purchase the systems, there's a third party financial auditor or entity will review the systems and determine what the fair market value is, and then the town and the PPA provider have to agree to that number.
Okay.
But also at the end of the 20 years, we don't have to keep it.
Exactly. The first option is to have the systems completely reviewed.
Okay. And now, but they do depreciate in value over a period of 20 years, correct?
Yeah, that's
Because
right.
I know some of the research I was doing, they were saying that they lose their power like 1% or 2% every year, so that slides down, the cost of them.
So on average, solar degradation of the system itself is about 0.5% per year.
Okay. And now, liability, like, what happens like if snow or ice fall off of these things onto somebody? I mean, who's going to be responsible for that? Let's say there was a safety issue involved.
Yeah, so again, it's a great question. Under the PPA, the solar provider is required to carry insurance, and there's a set amount. It's $2 million about for. It ranges, but they are required to carry insurance on the system, which includes liability.
Because to be frank, like, there's a lot of conversations amongst the residents about this project.
Yep.
And we all want savings, and we're all welcoming of savings. But when I was researching, like, your company and some of the work that you've done, and you had made a statement quoted in one of the newspapers that, there is a lot of resistance a lot of times from the community on solar projects because there's a lack of understanding about some of them. So I want to make sure that we're getting all the answers that are kind of thrown around between the residents. So maybe it would take away some of the stigma and the fear from the residents. We just want to make sure that we're getting a savings that's going to be good for the town over the 20-year period of time.
Sure.
So,
And that's
Yeah.
why we're here.
And there will also be a public informational hearing
Right.
for the residents, so anybody who is interested or concerned will come out, and Paul and Chris and Alan will be here again at that informational hearing to be able to answer any questions.
thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Is there if we decided not to purchase the units at the fair market value, is there a cost to us to have them removed and?
No,
No.
it's all built into the price. They would just remove it.
These restaurants,
Please state your name and address.
Jack Dow, in Sutton Pond, these restaurants, they have mercury in them, right?
Yes.
So you have to take those all out and you have to dispose of them in a safe way.
Right, all disposal costs are built into the project.
Right, and the ballasts don't last as long as they,
No, the ballast will be removed, will be replaced by dryers.
right. But if one of them was to burn out tonight, the plastic smell that you would have it ain't good, huh?
So I just want to remind everybody that this is not a public hearing tonight, this is a Board of Selectmen meeting. So moving forward with any of these projects, there will be informational hearings that you will be able to ask more questions.
Well, no, I'd just like to have the Board of Selectmen understand more about the lights.
Well, we have already met with them,
Yeah,
and we will
but I
be
mean,
meeting
you
with
want the
them
mercury
again.
in the lights? I mean, the mercury in the lights and what the ballasts contain?
Yes, I understand that, Jack, but they will be responsible for the removal and
Right,
disposal
right,
of that, not the town.
Yeah, right. They just don't take the stuff down and throw it in the ground.
Correct.
Yeah, right, yeah.
I think Jack's just saying the urgency of removing them.
Yeah.
It's probably a good thing to get rid of them.
Right, yeah.
Because they're hazardous.
Criticize nobody.
No.
I
That's what
just
he's
helped
saying.
work on this stuff before
No.
years ago, and I thought maybe that would give you a better,
Thank you.
you know.
June Gagnon, Central Village. I have a question. Why does it have to be a 20-year contract? Why can't it be 10 years?
So,
I mean, technology's changing quickly, right?
Sure, sure.
Things are advancing. Why can't it be a 10-year contract? That sounds a lot better.
so the reason why it's 10 years, there are a number of cost factors for the developer to put these systems. Sorry, I didn't catch your name.
June,
June. So, June, the reason why it's 10 years or 15 years or 20 years, it's a contract, right? And the cost for putting this solar on these systems, these schools, these buildings, there's a cost associated with putting that technology, installing that technology, maintaining and managing that technology. So the further the contract goes out, the cheaper it is. The shorter the contract is, the more expensive it is, which comes in the way of the power purchase agreement. It's really no different than the mortgage rate, or I guess it's the inverse of the mortgage rate. If you went for a 15-year, the mortgage rate goes up, so your payment gets bigger. It's pretty much the same sort of thought pattern, right?
Okay.
The shorter the term, the more expensive it will be.
okay, that sounds kind of like... I have another question.
Yeah.
What if there's a fire in a building and the firemen have had problems getting into buildings that are generating electricity on the roof?
So-
Do you have an answer for that?
Yeah, so all of this is done in accordance with engineering and what is called NEC standards. So this is all in accordance with code that has been created alongside the fire departments nationally, locally, and
Do you have proof
statewide.
of that?
I'm sorry?
Do you have proof of that?
Well, it'll be stamped by a third-party engineer. So everything that has been designed in terms of the footprint, the setbacks from the roof itself, the way that it's configured, the walk paths, the dimensions of the
Even
work
older
paths.
roofs?
Sorry?
Older roofs?
All of it
You're
will
not
be-
engineering a new roof?
We're,
With this
the third
solar
party,
on it?
so the third-party engineer, June, who is separate from
Yeah.
us, separate from the developer, will oversee all of that, and their stamp, which is their personal and professional certification, is part of that process. So none of it happens until something is certified
And
by
this is all in writing?
Of course it is.
This is everything
the
in
munici-
writing?
the municipality, so the approval of the building permit, the
But Kathy
electrical
said there
permit.
were no contracts. Now you're talking contracts. Now things are in writing, right? This is all going to be in writing? It's all going to be
So
written?
there are no contracts at this time because we have not finalized anything. And just a reminder, we're going to move on with the Board of Selectmen meeting because this is not our informational hearing.
Fair enough.
Okay, when are we going to have that?
We will schedule that probably within, I'm going to say a few weeks, depending on Paul and Alan, where they
You really
are.
want to understand. You have to understand, Kathy. You make this choice now. You're involved in 20 years with these people. Your name goes on it. If anything goes wrong, the town of Plainfield is always going to remember your name with a failed project or
I
fiasco.
understand that, June,
So
but
make
I
sure
need to move
I'm
our
just gonna
town
give you-
into the future.
I'm
I
just going to say,
appreciate your
please,
concern
make
for me.
sure you really do your research and listen to the people this time.
I have always listened to the people.
I have one quick question. Matt Radant from Columbia. What is the estimated impact on any insurance carried on the buildings for the panels? Does that affect what the town's quoted at to carry for insurance?
Normally it doesn't change because the insurance on the system itself is carried by the developer.
Thank you. So at this time, we are looking for a motion to amend the original resolution that was adopted on June 11th.
So moved.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So we have a motion to accept the amendment from the original resolution from June 11th as read to the new resolution as read on July 9th, 2018. Item number 3 is to consider an act on tax refunds from the tax collector as follows. So we have a total of $107.57. We have $87.97 for Alley Financial, and then $19.60 for Sarah Prescott.
I make a motion to approve those tax refunds.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried to act on the tax refunds from the tax collector in the total amount of $107.57 for $87.97 for Alley Financial and $19.60 for Sarah Prescott. Item number 4 is to consider and act on the new hydrovac vacuum truck bid. And tonight, we have Scott Black here for any questions that the Board of Selectmen may have. So we went out to bid for the vac, and our bid came in. So we have 2 different companies bid. We have Tri-County Contractors, who came in at $396,000 for a front reel, $375,000 for a rear reel, and $363,900 for a 6-yard tank. Now, none of those proposals met the bid that we put out, or, give me 1 second. The specs of the bid. So then we have Sanitary Equipment Company, who came in with a bid of $340,000, which was to the spec that the bid went out. So tonight, I'm looking for a motion to approve the bid of $340,000 to Sanitary Equipment Company for the hydrovac vacuum truck bid. And again, Scott Black is here from Sanitary Equipment, Madeline or Virginia, if you have any questions regarding the vac.
What is that other bid for from your same company?
From my same company, again, I'm Scott Black with the Sanitary Equipment Company. I'd like to thank you guys for even considering us, with this bid. The alternative bid, though, what that is, that's a stock unit that we have built. Does not match the written spec issued by the town, but again, it was a unit that I had in stock that I always throw in an alternate bid just in case, availability is a concern, that's the main reason.
And the other bid, the 340, you can get that quickly?
The 340 is to match the spec to the T, so what was published. It is dependent on chassis delivery or chassis build date. Chassis build date at this time, if the order was placed today, chassis would be built and delivered to the VACON plant sometime the end of October, early November. Then at that point, I'm 45 days on the body side after receipt of chassis. Again, the alternate bid, although it's a good truck, it doesn't match them. It's a much larger truck, might be more than what the town has needed, but again, it's a truck that I had in stock, so.
So maybe, Scott, you can explain the difference between the one that you have in stock compared to the one that went to the specs.
Certainly, I'd love
that is needed.
All right, so the town went out for a 3-stage fan, 9-yard unit with a front-mounted jet hose or rocker hose. What these trucks are designed to do, they're designed to clean catch basins and jet sewer lines, blockages, any kind of emergency like that. The difference between the 2 trucks, again, the one bid is a 3-stage fan, 9-yard, 1,000 gallons of water. The fan on the bid unit is called an aero boost system. It's a new style fan that produces 4,500 CFM, and it has a separate cyclonic separator on it to help separate fines, preserve the life of the fan. The unit I have in stock is a standard 3-stage fan system, still 3 stages, you're only producing 3,500 CFM, so you're losing about 1,000 CFM, and I can explain in a minute what that is. The separator on the standard fan is much smaller and actually connected to the 3 chambers. So if you were to look at the fan, you would see 4 different chambers, and that first chamber would be the separator. Other than that, the hose reels are the same. Now, as far as the blower, the CFM, 4,500 CFM to 3,500 CFM means that you'll be able to pull at depth and pull distance much more efficiently. So for your workers out doing catch basins, they would be grateful for the extra 1,000 CFM. I know in your town, you do have depths past 10 feet on your catch basins. Again, time is money, even for the taxpayers, even though they're town employees, they could be spending their time doing something else more effective for the town than, wasting the extra time cleaning catch basins. The other thing the 1,000 CFM will give you is if you're drawing any kind of distance, if there's an instance where they have to go off-road to, the truck is manned on the road and what they're vacuuming is off-road, that extra 45 or that extra 1,000 CFM will help pull that distance and bring that material back on the back side. Another main difference on the unit is gallons per minute. The one that I have in stock is a 50 gallon per minute at 3,000 PSI. The one bid is a 60 gallon per minute at 3,000 PSI. So you're just allowing more water out of the nozzle. Again, I know you guys have a huge grease issue in your lines. The 60 gallon per minute will be more effective at pushing that grease back because you're bringing more water into the line, bringing it back, and then you're sucking it up and disposing of it. The other thing that the bid truck has that the stock truck doesn't, a lot more lighting and safety functions on it. You guys did a great job at specifying safety measures. For example, there are mid-body strobes on the bid truck. There are mirror-mounted beacon strobes on the bid truck. There are front and rear cameras on the bid truck. On the back of the truck, there's a large LED strobe arrow board that is exactly what it sounds like. There's 2 ends of an arrow on either side, and you can direct traffic very clearly by seeing the arrow strobing one way or the other. The stock truck does not have, again, because not everybody requires that. Stock truck is really more of a private contractor truck. May not require all that safety stuff. They're just trying to get a truck in to do their business. That truck does not have the beacon strobes or mid-body strobes, does not have a front or rear camera, and does not have an arrow board on the back. It's just an LED strip. So if you remember the show Knight Rider and you see the thing in front of Kit, that's what the arrow stick looks like, except amber instead of red.
Thank you, Scott.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, I understand that one of these was demonstrated to our workers in town.
Not one of the combo unit itself, not one of the trucks that have been bid, but a combo unit with a rotor hose and a vacuum with a 3-stage fan was demonstrated to the town, correct?
Was that one close to the...
It would be closer to the bid specification.
Thank you. That helps a lot. Well, I think that, I guess my only concern was just the amount of time delay in getting it, and then would we be able to meet our obligations to get the work done in the time period?
After speaking with Don on several occasions, your highway department foreman, he seems to think that the gap in time is not a big deal because they still have the catch basin cleaner that they've been using, and that's still functioning. Again, lead times on it, although it seems like a long time, it's really not for a truck that would be suited for your town. You're talking about a shorter truck on narrow roads, much more maneuverable, storage for inside facilities. I've been inside of your garage, and you guys are packed pretty tight. So a truck that's 3.5 feet to 4 feet shorter than the stock truck would definitely be handy in those situations. And to add any kind of safety measures that the town would probably want to the stock truck, you would now take the bid price up over that 340.
Okay, all right. Answer all those questions. All right, I make a motion that we approve the sanitary equipment company bid of $340,000 for the spec. Is it spec 1?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried to accept the bid of $340,000 from Sanitary Equipment Company for the hydrovac vacuum truck on the spec, according to the specs.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
You're welcome. Thank you, Patty.
Item number 5 is to consider and act on the resolution regarding the Connecticut SHPO grant application. So what I'm looking for tonight is a motion to approve the resolution as it reads. So I, Kathy Tenrich, first selectman of the town of Plainfield, a Connecticut municipality, do hereby certify that the following is a true and correct copy of a resolution duly adopted at a meeting of the Board of Selectmen of this municipality duly held on July 9, 2018, at which meeting a duly constituted quorum of the Board of Selectmen was present and acting throughout, and that such resolution has not been modified, rescinded, or revoked, and is at present in full force and effect. Resolved that Kathy Tenrich, who is the first selectman of this municipality, is empowered to execute and deliver in the name and on behalf of this municipality a certain contract with the state of Connecticut, Department of Economic and Community Development, and to affix the town seal. In witness whereof, the undersigned has affixed his or her signature in the corporate seal of this corporation. So what this is we have applied for a grant, or in the process of applying for a grant through the State Historical Preservation Office. This grant will enable us to find out the best usage for the old Plainfield High School.
Good. Yes.
So at this time, I just need a motion to accept the resolution as read.
Oh, I make that motion.
I second it.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried to act and to approve the motion, the resolution as read for the State Historic Preservation Office grant application.
Very, very exciting.
Item number 6, correspondence. So we have for Planning and Zoning Commission a workshop announcement. So the workshop announcement, Tuesday, October 9th, 2018, roles and responsibilities of land use boards and commissions. The Town of Plainfield Planning and Zoning Commission will host a workshop presented by Mark Grants, Halloran and Sage, the town's land use attorney, to cover municipal land use agencies' roles, responsibilities, proper meeting procedures, etc. The workshop is open to all Plainfield land use boards and commissions, and though the topic will be specific to those entities, other municipal commissions, committees, board members who wish to attend for informational purposes are welcome. The workshop will be held as part of the commission's regular October meeting, which begins at 7 p.m. It is hoped that all members are able to attend this most important and informative workshop. Members of land use boards, commissions, and Attorney Grants' other nearby client towns are also invited. This was respectfully submitted by Mary Ann Shanetti, our town planner.
Sounds great.
Thank you, Mary Ann. Item number 7 is other. We have no other. Number 8 is public comment, and we've had our public comment through each speaker that was here tonight to present. So is there any other public comment?
Art Cagney,
Yeah.
Jackson Road. Do we have a timeline for the solar? I brought my list of questions because I couldn't ask them last time. I couldn't ask them at the BOE meeting because there was no public comment.
The
Is it-
timeline for
is it gonna be a
solar.
Wednesday?
So the public hearing, you'll be able to ask any questions you want regarding the solar.
Do we
There
have-
will be no decision made until there is a public hearing, and then
Okay.
we will move on. And that's an informational hearing, that's not a vote, it's an informational hearing where members of the town can come and ask any questions, voice their concerns, so it's open to the public.
Do we have a time, date?
Frame for the meeting,
Somewhere.
like I said, I'll coordinate with Paul and Alan,
Okay.
and we'll set up a time that's convenient for them, that they can be out here, I hope within the next couple of weeks. But right now,
Okay.
because of vacations, a lot of people are not around, and I want it to be at a time, although we do need to move forward with it, I just want to make sure that it's going to be a time that we get a good ordinance here.
Okay.
Thank you.
What is the, why? I mean, I'm sorry, I don't understand. The town can't vote on this? So you're just gonna have a hearing so that we can discuss how we
So
feel
that any
about it?
questions that you
But
have,
it's a done deal. You're gonna just go ahead with it, right?
because we are a charter town, June, so it is the Board of Selectmen's choice to make decisions for the town, yes.
It's interesting.
There are many small towns, well, large towns. I was in New London this morning, and they're also a charter division, so, charter town. So that is our council of government that we have to follow.
It's kind of like a dictatorship. It's not a democracy.
Well, you have to.
That's how I see it. That's how I see it. I'm sorry, I don't see it any other way. You don't care about what we have to say about it. I think you're making a huge mistake. You're not really listening. You know, they have to hurry out of here tonight because their time is so important. Do you know how much money they're gonna make off of this town? You know, you've got to think.
And that's why
What
we
is
have
their
an
motivation?
informational meeting, June.
But it's
That is
not
what
gonna
it's
change
for.
what you're gonna do. That to me is a difficult thing. I have a hard time with that.
Well, the town has run for that for how many years, so I can't change that. I can change some things, but I can't change that. Yes?
I think the area of concern that bothers me is the gray area between the PPA and the capital lease from the research that I've been doing. And the fact that there's no, like, presentation being presented yet, so I'm hoping that will come at the hearing for what the buyout amounts are going to be. Because there is a gray area between the buyout options falling under a classification of a capital lease versus a PPA. And if we're not careful with that, we could be, if we step over that, we could be violating the charter because in chapter 2, if it's leasing, it does go to town vote, which is why I asked that.
But it's not leasing. But again, that will be a good question for our public meeting.
Because it's such a gray area with the way that they define on a federal and state level, the distinction between a PPA and a capital lease. You know, it's not just the tax portion of it, there are other defining factors that fall into that. So, and I just feel that, like, Attorney Michon is representing both parties in this, am I correct in that?
Yes, so what Paul Machad does, and not just our town, he is not paid by our town, he is
Correct.
paid by whatever company is chosen or whatever companies are chosen. But yes, he is a representative of the municipalities, but also our own attorney will be
Okay,
reviewing this.
that's what I was-
Yes,
yes,
yes, we
okay.
have our own attorney involved in it. This is not something that will not go through our attorney.
Okay, because I was concerned because he does have a background of lobbying for solar energy companies. So it's kind of like, that's a little bit of a conflict, you know, if he was the only one reviewing the contract with you. So
No,
that
he is not the
we
only
need
one.
to know that. So that maybe will help. us
Oh,
to know that.
and one thing wasn't made clear, that when they go down, what happened was ECC's not gonna have anything on the building now. And there's not gonna be any canopies at the high school. So now the projected savings over 20 years is going down to $3 million.
That's still a good savings.
It's
though.
up to, what, about 250,000 a year.
So to me,
Still, there could be better savings without all the aggravation. Could do other,
It's 150.
oh, 150, that's
So-
right. It was about 215 with the 4.3.
with the 4.
So now it's.
So again, that's a good, but again, this is all public information hearing, questions, not Board of Selectmen,
So
okay?
to get off the topic of solar for a minute, I actually do have another question, not pertaining to solar. Now, the back wall, we have in the capital improvement that line item for 300,000, and then we have the other 80,000 in our budget. So that's 380, and we're doing it for 340, so that'll be 40 over. Is there any discussion or proposal for possibly attributing more of that money into the public transportation system?
So the public transportation system right now, we can't just do line item transfers without approvals. In public transportation right now, there's a set amount in there. I am still working with NECOG, and we will be looking for funding with DOT, Connecticut DOT, to get more funding for that, so that 17% has to come from the town.
Right.
And then 33%, and then another 50%. So at this time, I cannot answer that question, how that would happen.
Now, what's the overall cost of the program?
I don't have a total cost for that program yet, Naomi, because what happened is the original route that they had planned stopped right at Route 12,
Yep.
Jewett City, Plainfield. Now what they're doing is they've proposed to go into Jewett City so that our bus can meet the Jewett City bus at the Griswold Town Hall. So when I spoke with Howie and John Filchak last week, they're still trying to reroute and not keep people on the bus longer than, I believe John said, 45 minutes. So at this time, they don't have a total cost for
Because I
it
know
because of the
there was
reason.
because there was a write-up in the Mass Transit online that I had read, published in April, and John Filchek had quoted for the group that was being projected at that time, 200,000. And he was discussing with you bypassing the state money and just doing the local and the federal. And when I read that, I was like, why that? Why? I mean, I know the state declined the year before, I know because I had discussed that with Howie, but I'm just wondering why not? Why bypass it? Why not try to get that money back?
And that's what we're trying to do.
Because I spoke with Heather Sumner outside the scoping meeting, and she's on board with trying to get the
She is
appropriation.
trying to get money
So,
for us.
and she said it was around 32,000 from what she was looking at from the town end, and then the state would have their percentage, and then the federal.
And I don't have any numbers right now.
So when are we possibly,
Timeframe.
is there a
It
time?
really is up to John and Howie. I talk to them almost every week, trying to push them so that we can get moving on it.
Because I was disheartened, because I don't know how Griswold's gonna factor in, because I was told by someone else that there was a possibility there was no money available on the Griswold, and I mean, I don't know that for sure, so I don't wanna, but, and I know that that's done with seeds, so how are they proposing connecting the two? That's tricky, it's been tricky all along.
Right.
Excuse me, but this isn't an item that's
I know,
on
but
our
it's
agenda.
a regular meeting, so we can, it's not so much money, so. But I don't have all those answers, Naomi. Like I said, I do stay in touch with John and Howie, and I attend the NECOG meetings, so as soon as I have anything or they have numbers for me, we'll be moving forward with it. Any other comments, questions?
I have one last question, just perhaps I didn't ask it, well, Matt from Musa, regarding the insurance carried on the town buildings for the solar panels. His answer was more along the lines of the insurance that they're carrying while they're either installing it. What work has been done to look at what our insurance costs on all the town buildings are going to be, plus the panels on them?
Right now, Matt, we have not looked into the insurance. We're just, I call it the beginning stages because we still have a long ways to go with this solar project. They have said that their insurance, their liability will cover it, but that is one of the questions that we will ask what it will cost our insurance if there are going to be any liability, further liability on us, and what the cost would be if there is anything. And again, like I said, we're sharing this information with our attorney, so it's not something that we're just going to go by the contract and sign it. Our attorney will review everything. But thank you.
I
Yes.
don't see why you can't.
Your name, please?
Robert Smith, Plainfield. I don't see why you can't move a line item now to do the transit. And just last week you were moving line items all over the place.
That is through a board of finance, and that is done at the end of the budget season, that you do that.
Well, just
You
last
can't
week you
just,
were moving. You just did 12,000 for the.
yes, but that is at the end of a budget season, and once all the financial information comes in, and then it has to be approved by the
You
board
can't
of
amend the budget.
finance.
You can amend the budget.
Yes, the board of finance, we can't.
Yeah, no, you can't, they can, but you can meet with them.
But you can't do a line item transfer before you know what you need.
Right, but you know what you need for the transit, and you know what you're gonna pay for that, so you do have a balance. of-
No, I don't know what the transit is gonna cost at this time.
Well,
We have no numbers yet.
Heather was 32 on the downside. So that money is in there.
We don't have a total amount with the new transit, with the new route that they're doing. And you can't just,
Well, I know you're not gonna go into Jewett City, because Kevin School check said that's not gonna happen. Oh, at this time, it's not gonna happen anytime soon. But they're not gonna come up with the money on their side, I'm pretty sure of that.
we'll have to wait and see. That's what we're shooting for, so. Any other comment, questions?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is adjourned to accept the adjournment at 7:52 PM.